Hello, everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. And a very warm welcome to today's webinar. I'd like to thank you all for joining us for today's session, where we are going to be focusing on India's DPDP rules, which have been published recently. And we're also going to just quickly glance through the new updates of ISO 27701:2025, which is the new updated standard. And we will see that how using Controllo, which is a compliance automation platform, can you simplify your privacy compliance, be it India's DPDPA or be it ISO 27701 or any privacy standard and compliance. So just a quick run through for the session. So we are going to cover the overview of the two standards. We are going to cover the live demo of Controllo, which should take around 40 to 45 minutes. And after that, we'll also have 15 minutes dedicated for a Q&A session. So on your screen, you can see a Q&A box. If you have any questions during this session, please post it there. And in those end 15 minutes, we'll be addressing all your questions that you might have. And we'll also be simultaneously running some polls. So kindly do participate. We'd really appreciate your feedback. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Mr. Ashwin, and he's going to start with the introduction. Thank
Uh,
you.
thank, thank you very much, Alva. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Ashwin. I'm the CEO of Acidia. Many of you may know me. And today we have very important topic of the two most important updates that we have had now on privacy. Last month we got an update on the new standard of PIMS, which is 27701, the 2025 standard. And this month on November 13th, we got the DPDP rules, which were long awaited since almost 2 years. And now we are on the track to comply with privacy for the Indian environment. So quickly, we will cover both the highlights, changes, and how our tool Controllo can help you with doing automation for privacy and compliance with the privacy. That's our primary objective today. So we're going to quickly look at DPDP rules, then we look at the DPDP and ISO 27701. We'll look at data protection impact assessment. We'll look at data flow concepts. We'll look at the updated standard, and we'll look at the transition requirements from the PIMS and how Controllo can help mainly, and then lighter. So this is what happened in the DPDP. To just go back, the DPDP Act was enacted in 2023. However, the rules were not defined, and the rules only came into the Gazette last week on November 13th. And this is the update. And what changes? Let's look at in the next slide. The rules that were announced on November 13th were rules 1, 2, and 70 to 21, mostly on the data protection board and the formation and the concepts. The rule 4 is mostly relating to the consent and the consent managers that will be effective from November 13, 2026, 1 year from the Gazette date. And we have 18 months for organizations to comply with the most important provisions of the DPDPA and creating a DPIA, etc., etc. So we have about 1 year and 18 months in total, 18 months to start. But this 18 months is not long if you think, because privacy is not an easy task for compliance. We know that Facebook and Google and all the big companies, despite of their billions of trillions of dollars of market cap and billions of dollars net worth, are not still able to get 100% compliant. So for smaller companies like us, it's going to be a task, and we will need automation tools such as Controllo to help us compliant with that. Okay, so what are the major changes or the new rules they say? So it says breach notification to be done in 72 hours. However, certain in India mandates that breach notifications have to be done in 6 hours. So that's, we need to get ready to make sure that we not only look at 72-hour window, but we look at a 6-hour window. Log retention, it says mandatory 1 year. Children's data, we need to get verified parental consent that is on immediate basis. Cross-border transfers will come with restrictions. Significant data fiduciary will have to do DPIAs and independent audits. Consent management, as we said, we have 1 year's time to do that at the platform, and they will announce shortly details about that. And we need to have a DPO for the significant fiduciaries, and all the contact information must be updated for that. And maximum penalties is up to 250 crores for violations. So this is these are the summary of the new rules which have come. The rules are effective. The clock is ticking now. And one of the most important things to do with privacy is to do a DPIA and to conduct a data flow diagram. So we need to understand what our data stores, our data databases, what we have, data stores based on each business process or an application that an environment may have. So we may have HR data within our ID systems. We may have X kind of data for one client and another kind of data for another client if we are doing processing kind of activity, right? Banks may have data of home loans or maybe car loans and banking data and so on, right? So we have different kinds of data in different databases and different data sets that may have. So for each of that data set and the business process that you have, you may have to do a data flow diagram to understand what kind of data are you collecting, what are the fields are you collecting, is it required or not, is it mandatory or not? Because in India we have a habit of collecting everything. You want the grandfather's name, you want the great grandfather's name, you want your maternal uncle's name, maternal father's name. We have a habit of collecting data that we don't need. So we need to first look at what is the kind of data we are actually collecting and whether legally we are required to collect the data or not, right? Sometimes we are happy to get the neighbors and the neighbors data and etc., which is irrelevant for the business purposes, may not be relevant. So data minimization is a concept in privacy that we need to use, and what kind of data we are collecting exactly, we need to map that data in a DFD, exactly what data fields. We'll show you in a demo. What data fields are you collecting? And for each data item, each data element, are you a processor or a controller? That also we need to decide. If you don't decide that, then your compliance mandates may change. Because in PIMS, you have a different controls for the processor, you have different controls for the controller, etc. So whether you're a controller or processor, you need to define for each data element. And it's not an easy task. Trust me, I've been working with privacy for more than 15 years, much before GDPR came into effect. The rules for privacy initially were made by AICPA under the GAP, Generally Accepted Privacy Principles. And since the year 2008, I've been working on privacy and audited some of the Fortune 100 companies for privacy also. So it is a tedious task, it is a cumbersome task, and privacy professionals in India are not available easily. They are expensive. So we will have to rely on your internal methods, on tools to help you to comply with this. Now, both the DPDP Act and the PIMS, you will need to create a DPIA. So once you have a data flow diagram, once you have a understanding of what all products or business processes, what data is flowing, how it is flowing, you need to create a data impact assessment, DPIA, to understand the checkpoints or the controls at each and every point that data is transmitting or moving hands to. Like say, for example, you're collecting a data from your website, right? So the first point is your website. So what are the controls at your website? From the website, it is coming into maybe your CRM. From the CRM, what is your control at the CRM level? From the CRM, somebody is downloading into an Excel sheet, and an Excel sheet is stored in a SharePoint. So what are the controls at the Excel when it's downloaded on a laptop, for example, or from a laptop it is gone to a SharePoint? What are the controls at the SharePoint level? From there, you are trying to process that data and put it in a database, for example, right? For example. And what are the controls at your database level? So at every touch point of the data, you will need to address the controls, and you need to look at what controls are being provided at each and every data element level, right? Similarly for PIMS. So it's going to be a tough task. It's not going to be an easy task, and it's not that we have 1 year or 18 months that we can do it at our own ease. It is not that easy. We actually should have started as of yesterday if we not started it. So the time is the clock is ticking, the time is running out, and we need to start ASAP. So again, DPIA is a systematic description of data processing of the activities based on each business process or the application. And this is assessment of risk. So you'll be doing actually risk assessment, right? And we will see what parameters we have in the demo. So we are using NIST based the template, and that is what we will show you in the demo, how we are going to do a DPIA at a high level. Then assessment is of the data processing and how personal data is protected. Next, this is a sample DFD we will show you in the demo, right? How it is. It's a hospital A, and you are having an API interface to collect the data. You have different data sets for lab reports, for clinical reports, for patient registry, etc. And that data, all of them is getting aggregated and going to your regulator, for example. Just a sample. So now coming to the new PIMS standard, right? What are the key changes? The key changes are mainly that the new standard has been delinked from the 27001, which is the ISMS. So now you can independently get audited for 27701 without having even the ISMS standard implemented or audited. So if you don't have a ISO 27001, you can directly go for 27701 without being audited for 27001, which is ISMS. So that is a major thing. They have delinked and they have aligned it to the new updated standard of the 27701. So based on the same thing, they made mandatory clauses 4 to 10, context of the organization, leadership, planning, support, operation, performance evaluation, improvement, etc. And control objectives for the annex controls. So control objectives for controllers and control objectives of processes. And A3 talks about the security requirements. So the security requirements have been embedded as part of A3. So you don't need to do the PIMS, the ISMS if you want to do the PIMS, which was earlier not the case. And other annexes are alignment to the risk standard 29100, sorry, the 29151 and the earlier standard of PIMS. Now, mandatory controls in 2019 were 25, in 2025 is 30. Annex controls are 1114, were 1114, now it's 29. And controller controls are 31, they are same for the controller and for the processor, no changes. So this is the update. And transition requirements is that we have 3 years time to transit. And October 2028, if you are certified for PIMS, you will need to go to the new standard mandatorily. So how to do transition is standard, doing gap assessment, update policies, procedures, doing risk assessment, conduct awareness trainings, and get certified. That's the standard requirement. Now, how Controllo helps you to comply with PIMS as well as the new DPDP rules. Now, you can, as I told you, you can create DFDs, you can define your contract and manage all your PIA elements across all data stores. You can upload controller processor evidence based on data types. You can conduct PIAs, DPIAs with built-in workflows that we have here. And we give you a user AI-based tool that we will see now to check whether the evidences and the policies uploaded match to the control requirements or not. Right? That we will I will show in the next slides after this presentation. We have pre-built audit-approved privacy policies. We have AI-based control mapping across 20+ frameworks. So if you want to map against the ISMS, against not only the PIMS, DPDP with the PIMS, we can do that. DPDP with GDPR, we can do that, right? Automatically in the platform, right? And so collaboration tool, we have built-in chat functionality, dashboards that all you will see as part of the platform. Again, our platform is having all 4 areas of cybersecurity, cloud security, privacy, and AI security and governance as part of the single platform across areas. So we are one of the few platforms that has all the 4 aspects in one single environment. How we are using AI? We are using AI for 2 different aspects. One is the controls mapping. So we have more than 33,000 relationships among the controls, and a secure AI engine, which we will see now, It will check the evidences and the policies uploaded and match to the control requirements and give you an automatic gap assessment report kind of a thing based on each control. So why you should need Controllo? Key benefits is it's a single platform collaboration. All stakeholders are coming into the same platform. Consultants, internal auditors, all business processes are stored in one location. You have a chat functionality. You have a collaboration platform. You do all security, privacy, AI security, everything in the one umbrella, which gives you a better visibility and better decision making. It's a cloud SaaS-based environment, so it's scalable. It gives you cost efficiency, organizational transparency, and it's a faster readiness. The most important thing is time saving, and specifically when we are in acute shortage of cybersecurity professionals. That's most important. We have a clock ticking now, and professionals are not available. We can't produce those professionals overnight. So the best way is to use tools. Now, this is a disclaimer that it is a general discussion and may not be relevant to your specific environment. Now, coming to the one quick functionality, I will show you the tool, and after that, Alva will take over. So this is our DPDP framework that we have uploaded, or in the audit frameworks, we have the DPDP framework we already uploaded. I'm going to the clause 3.1.1, which talks about right to access information about personal data, and this is the clause requirement. I'll quickly show you that implementation is, this is what you need to type in here to implement, how you have implemented the control, right? Data principal can send a request to privacy@abc.com to get the details about personal data. And just an example, we also uploaded a sample policy here just for understanding purposes. It may not be the relevant direct policy, but just to show you the functionality of how the AI will actually read your policy and read all your evidences that you uploaded here. So the evidence, we have mapped all the evidences for pre-upload. So and based on your DFDs that you created, right? It will ask you to upload for a particular data store A and data store B, or as a data controller or a data processor. So this is already predefined in the platform. The moment you say it's a DFD, you say controller or processor, it's going to map the requirements accordingly. So I'll quickly run the secure engine here from this green screen. And within seconds, you'll see that you get a gap assessment for that specific control requirement per se for DPDP. Okay, here's the report. Just a few seconds, right? It's saying implementation description analysis, implementation description data principal sends to request. So this is giving you what it is. Analysis giving you implementation is minimal and only covers the mechanism of submitting the request via email, does not elaborate on end-to-end process, such as how requests are received, verified, processed, and responded and recorded. For audit readiness, a more comprehensive description should be provided, referencing to the workflow, responsible roles, timelines, etc., etc. So this is giving you what is provided, what was the analysis, right? In description, what is missing? No separate data processor policy procedures provided, while main procedure, reference process activities, distinct policy procedures are required, etc., etc. So in quick few seconds, it has checked the policy, it has checked the implementation, it has checked the control requirements, and it has checked the evidences uploaded and giving you an entire assessment. Implementation incomplete. Data principal rights incomplete, but data processor policy procedure is missing. Data principal request handling policy is partial, right? DSR evidence is complete, but DPIA agreement is missing. Evidence of right of access request is missing. So it gives you conclusion that organization strong foundation policy, but it is must address the above gaps, right, to be fully audit ready. So just as a sample, we are giving you one control. Similarly, for all of these controls, this tool can do an automatic gap assessment, and it can make your life easier and your compliance can be done very much faster. So that's all I had to say. Now, Alva will take you to the other aspects of the platform. Over to you, Alva.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Uh, I'll just share my screen. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, visible.
Great. So I'll continue on the control journey. I have opened one of our privacy controls, which is the PIMS, and here I am on control 5.4.2, which talks about the information security objectives and planning to achieve them. So even here, if you see, the journey will be the same in terms of the implementation, the documentation, the evidence, and if you want to run Secura, you have to go through the same process. Coming on to the mappings feature. So here we've given you, visual representation, which shows you how one particular control maps with all the other controls and risks across various frameworks on the platform. And this just is to, visually help you understand the cross framework mapping. Then we have the audit tab. So here you can track your internal and external audits. You can add your auditors right here on the platform. You can create their profiles and the auditors can leave their comments. You can reply to those comments. They can leave their remarks, save, and then generate their reports right here from the platform itself. So that covers your audit life cycle. Moving on to the chat, we also have a live chat feature. These are real-time chats, and this helps you collaborate with your team members in real time. So if I send any message here, this goes with the date and timestamp. So where I'm locally placed, it's 3:51 right now. So it shows me the timestamp. And the best part about Controllo is that all these chats are consolidated here in the chat application. So I don't have to keep going to my frameworks to find my chats. Control wise, all my chats are maintained here. So I know these are my chats for ISMS, SOC 2, CCM, PIMS, etc. So all the control wise chats are maintained and all the collaboration stays right here on the platform. Similarly, for all your privacy related policy procedures and evidences, also, we have given you a repository. So, this is a common repository which covers all the documents across all the frameworks on the platform, be it cyber, cloud, AI security, or privacy. You can download templates, which will also include privacy specific policies and templates, which are built by our auditors. And you can use them and customize them as per your environment, and you can just drag and drop the documents and start uploading them here in the repository. As you can see, we've uploaded some sample documents. And the best part is that even the documents are mapped across various controls. So I know this particular document is mapped with 122 controls, and I also get visibility into that. Like I can see my privacy frameworks mapped, I can see ISMS mapped, and I can see various other frameworks that this control maps with. Similarly, for evidences, we have this repository here where you can check all your evidences in one place. So this is like a single source of truth for you for all your documentation, and you can just store all your documents in one place and have it ready at all times. And lastly, in the chat tab, I'd like to show you guys the audit management feature where you can add your auditor's profiles. So this is one sample profile, how it would look like. If I want to add, I can add my auditor's, organization name, or if it's an internal team, I can create an internal audit team. I can add the auditors, select the primary auditors. Then I can select against which framework they're going to audit me for, like internal, external audit, click save, and then the profiles will be created, after which the auditors can come on the platform, can check and review your documentation, and we've already seen the audit life cycle. So that covers our audit framework. Now, coming to the most important part for today's webinar is our privacy add-ons, which I want to show you. So if I come here in privacy, we have privacy assessment details. And here, what we can do is that you can add your products and services. So you could have multiple products, or you could have multiple services, right, across which you want to do your DPIA and create your DFDs. So you can add multiple products here and keep them in one consolidated view. So just for demo purposes, I've added like two examples here. So this is, let's say we have a hospital in EU, and here we have a hotel property management system, so hotel PMS, and these are my two products. Now, if I click on any of these products, let's say preview, it'll open the entire PIA, DPIA, the eight flow structure. So Starting with step one would be organizational objectives. So, we'll add all the details here from the organization's perspective. They will add what are the organizational objectives, and then they will cover the steps on their privacy governance, and they'll add, their legal privacy by design, their policy, etc., all their privacy governance details here. Then they will add their privacy capabilities, which also includes your CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, and the predictability, manageability, disassociability. And we've also given you hovers for you to understand exactly what each of these mean, and just to give you some extra information. Then comes the important step of the DFD. So right here in step 4 is where you can view your DFD. If I click here, it will take me to the data flow diagram canvas. And here, again, there are two ways you can do this. If you already have your data flow diagrams, you can just click on this upload and you can upload your DFDs right here. Or if you want to create your DFDs, we've given you a very easy canvas to create your DFDs right here on the platform. You just literally have to drag and drop these, and then just start creating your data flow diagrams. To save time, since we are on a clock here, we have created one DFD for an example, which I will take you guys through today. So yeah, for the hospital example, let's say I have hospital A, hospital B. It's going through an API interface, which then has multiple data stores. So these are data stores which I have added here, and each of these data stores is where actually my PII data resides. For example, I have lab reports, I have clinic reports, I have my patient registry, and these are some important places, right, where my PII data would reside. Now, again, this would go through some API aggregation, which was our process, and then it goes through our external entity, which is the EU regulator. Now, once we have this data flow diagram in place, right, it becomes easier for us to visualize our data movement, and we understand exactly at each step what is happening and in which steps exactly are we storing our PII data. Now, once we have this in place, I'm just going to zoom in, and we can then go into these data stored, individually. So say lab reports, if you can see this icon here, if I click on this icon, what will happen is a data store schema will open. Now, a data store schema is where at the data element level, you will be able to define your PII obligations. So what you can do here is, again, that you can either import your data store schemas. That's why this takes like a second or two, because if it lets you connect with your external data store schema platforms like MySQL, MariaDB, and various other platforms. And you can again directly import your data store schemas from these platforms, or you can select empty diagram and create your own data store schemas. Again, to save time, I'm just going to take some examples that we already have ready. So here we have three examples. I'm just going to click on the employee schema. So this is what your data store schema would look like. And again, once you have your data store schema in place, and you've created this, you can just drag it here. And now if you see here, at each data element level, I can define if I have no PII, or if I'm a PII controller, or if I'm a PII processor. So this is really helpful for our frameworks like DPDP now, or PIMS, or even GDPR, where your obligations vary depending on if you're a data processor or data controller. So this at the data element level is helping you identify what are your PII obligations. And not only that, the best part is that once you have done this, Controllo will use this information and will prompt you for evidence based on your, data obligations. So before I go further, I'll also cover that and quickly show you guys that if I were to open any of the privacy frameworks, let's say SOC 2 for privacy, And if I go on any policy procedure and evidence, so here you will see an additional tag which says data controller. So that means that based on what I have identified in my DFD and DPIA, controller has used that information to prompt me for evidence as a data controller here. Similarly, for evidence, it's telling me, upload this document as a data controller and specifically for which data store. So I could have multiple data stores, right? So it's also going to tell you for which data store you need to upload what document. So this saves a lot of time for your internal teams and definitely a lot of time for your auditors because, they can just skip through the entire process of, asking you for evidences after matching your obligations and all of that. Okay, coming back to our PIA. So once our DFD is in place, we, just cover the next steps, which is you add your general contextual factors like, your organizational perspective, your system perspective, your individual's perspective. Then you add your system design, assessment details here. So based on your actual system design architecture, you'll add all your details here. Then we go on to the privacy, impact assessments. So we have our data action risks here. You select your data action risk. You select your individual risks here. You can select either one or you can select multiple. That is up to you. If it has the same likelihood and impact, you can also, do multiple individual risks at a time. And again, it's a very simple toggle-based system on the platform. You just hover and do your toggle based on your likelihood and impact, and you can keep adding more and more data action risks, or you can also in the same data action risk add multiple risk categories and then conduct their likelihood and impact. So this is how you can do your entire PIA for all your risks. And once you're done with that, the last step would be a post risk assessment. So here you can track all your residual risks that are there. And again, if you see, it's what I selected right now in the PIA, it's showing me those tags only. So again, it will retrieve the data from there and it will show you your, residual risk. And again, you can add your remarks, etc. over here. So this entire, process and functionality helps you do your PIA and your DFD, which is the core and the most important thing for our frameworks like DPDPA and ISO 27701. So this is how you can manage your privacy compliance using the platform. Now, I'll also cover some additional features that we have on the platform apart from this. So I've covered the audit, privacy. I'll go to the risk management. So apart from privacy, we also have, given you risk functionalities on the platform. So here we have a consolidated risk register. So this is like any other risk register. You have risk across domains, like we have asset, organization, then we have AI related risks, and then we have our privacy risks, which we saw. Now, for all of these, we have different risk categories. We have inheritance risk and risk descriptions. So this is a preloaded entire risk register which comes with the platform. And what you can do here is that for each of these, we've also given you the option to enable or disable this risk, depending on whether this risk is applicable or not applicable to you. And also, all of these risks, if you see, are linked with controls. So if I see role-based accountability, it is linked with 397 controls on the platform. And if I click on that, it will actually show me which controls it is linked with. And I can also add risks here, select the domain, select the category, add a new category, add my descriptions, and click save, and that's about it. So it will become a part of my risk register. Now, on the platform, what we've done is that we've also focused our risk on three main things. One is our asset, organizational risk, and vendor risk. So these three elements I will cover. Starting with the asset, what you can do is you can add all your assets over here on the platform. You can also add your integration. So if you want to add your assets through your cloud integrations like AWS, Azure, or GCP, we have an integration section where you can integrate your platforms with Controllo. And then here, if you see, this table is populated where you can see all the AWS assets right now. So what happens is that this is, if you have pulled it from the cloud environment, we have given you a sync option here. Once you click on this sync option, this is for AWS and this is for Azure. This is their respective logos. If I click on this, what will happen is that it will sync in real time. So even if you've made any updates in your cloud assets, right, this will sync in real time. And at all times, you will get a real time view of your assets over here. And if you want to to manually upload your assets. So there are many assets you might want to upload, manually. Like we have some assets here on page 8, as you can see, asset 7, asset 8. So you can also upload these manually by downloading our template and uploading it here. And you can select the name, description, category, location, tag, custodian, owner. You can also, another important thing for privacy is you can also mark if your assets have contained PII or not. So if you see here, I can go on edit, and I can add the element level over here, select if, just keep this toggle on and off and select if my asset contains PII or not. Now, once you have added all your assets, what you can do is simply click on the drop down here. And once I click on the drop down, I'll be able to see all the risks that are there, asset related risks. And I can simply do my likelihood and impact for each of these assets. And the risk scores here will update in real time. And once I've done my likelihood and impact for all my assets, I also have this bar here which shows my consolidated risk for my asset at all times, and you don't have to do these calculations manually anymore. It's all happening on the back end, and then you will get to see your real time live score for your asset risks. Now, once you've done this, you can also monitor your cloud assets. So here I'll be able to, because currently I've just connected AWS and Azure, I can just see these. So if I click on view resource, it will show me across multiple locations, what my assets are. So these are different locations, and it is showing me where all my assets are placed. Now, if I go on view services, it will, give me multiple options. So we'll just take one example, which is of an S3 bucket. So now what happens is that the platform lets you view all your asset configurations for AWS in one place. So something which would previously not be available for the auditor, and they would have to keep asking because they don't have a view, is now available. They have a view only access to this on the platform, where in real time they can see all your S3 buckets and what are your configurations, and they can ask you questions. And let's say, for example, we come on security and compliance, we see block public access. Now, if this is false or true, let's say, for example, you have you want to keep your restriction as restricted access, because this is an internal portal and you don't want it to be accessible to everybody, right? So this should be false. But at the same time, many people host websites on S3 buckets. So if it's a website and this is false, then that's a problem, because that means if anybody is trying to search your website, they will not be able to find it, because you've restricted the access. So it is the company and the auditor's prerogative of how this should be said. But yeah, definitely they get a view, and they can ask you questions, and they can decide whether you have got good security practices in place or not. That is one example. Then even Azure, we'll just quickly glance through one example. So we can, this shows all Azure details here. If I go on view services, and if I go on virtual machines, so here for my virtual machines, this is like a server, and it will show me all the details here. Again, we can take two examples here. One is the logging and monitoring. So for a server, it is important, if you have something like a CSOC, to 24/7 monitor your logs. So ideally, this should be, true, because it should be enabled, and your log should be, continuously monitored, and it should be able to send the logs. But if it falls, that means it's not doing that. So ideally, it should be true. But again, it's the company's prerogative. And another thing which ideally, should be the disk encryption should again be ideally true, because that means that if any hacker is coming and trying to retrieve, your data, if the disk is not encrypted, if it's false, means the data is going as is. It's not going as encrypted. So again, that's not a great security practice, but again, it is the company and the auditor's prerogative to decide on that. So that you can monitor all your cloud assets. And then we come to the organizational risks here. So you can see all your organizational risks again in one place. This is again what we've seen from the risk register. And similarly, you will do your likelihood and impact with the toggle based system. Then you can add your vendors on the platform. So all your vendors can be added on the platform. They'll appear in a card-like format like this. And if you go on preview, you'll be able to see your vendors' details. You will be able to add multiple point of contacts for your vendors. You'll be able to add all your vendor certifications if you need your vendor to be ISO certified, SOC 2 attested. So you can store all their files here on the platform itself, and you can add all your vendor questionnaires and responses right here on the platform itself. And you can add as many questions as you want. And this in turn will help you do your vendor risk management. Again, you can do your likelihood and impact. You'll have your real-time risk scores. You will have your toggle. You have your consolidated vendor risk score over here. So that covers our risk management on the platform. I will also, since we're on risk, I'll also cover how you can manage your AI risks on the platform. So if you have any AI systems like Gemini or OpenAI, you can add those AI systems on the platform. You can add all the key details. And once you've added your AI systems like this, you can again evaluate your AI specific risks also on the platform. The reason we've done this is because the AI risks are very different from your traditional, asset or organization risks. So that is why we've given the functionality to check all your AI risks in one place and again do the likelihood and impact. And again, if you want to add any risks here, you can go back to the risk register and add your risks. So that covers all features of the platform. The last thing that I want to cover is our dashboards. So if I come to the dashboards, we have separate dashboards for our cyber and cloud. So this shows all the frameworks in our cybersecurity and cloud security. Then we have a separate dashboard for AI, which shows our AI frameworks. This shows our privacy frameworks. So the idea of the dashboard is to, in all at all times give you a real-time view of your progress. So as and when you'll add your implementation descriptions, your evidences, your policy procedures, these trackers will update dynamically, and you'll get to track your scores. You will get your overall progress. So at all times, you know where you are in terms of your compliance journey. Not only that, even if for other frameworks where you're not using, those trackers will still update because of the overlapping of controls, the similar controls and the documentations, etc. So even when I want to scale from one framework to another, it's easier for me to understand that, okay, you know what, because I've done SOC 2 CCM also, I'm like 30% done. So if I want to scale, I know that I just have a roadmap of 70% to align. So yeah, that's the dashboards for frameworks. Then we have a separate risk dashboard. So as I said, we focused the risk on asset, organization, and vendor. So here you get to see again, their risk scores, their individual risk scores. You get to see the overall risk score over here, which is a consolidation of these three, and you get to see your individual heat maps. So on the platform, we've used NIST as a base, even for privacy, even for AI, and even for cyber. We've used NIST framework as a base for the risk management. So this also very low to very high classification that you see. This is based on the NIST 830 and 37 classification for risk management. And these are just again heat maps to give you a visual representation of your risk management. And the last feature we have in the dashboard is a Kanban. So in audit frameworks, you can assign controls. I'm not sure if we've covered that, but I'll quickly cover that. If I open any framework and any control over here, I can assign these controls to my team members. So let's say if this control is assigned to me, if we have a make or checker system, if this control is assigned to me, so what will happen is it will go and appear in my Kanban as review pending. So I can review, and then once I'm done, I can move it to review completed, and that's about it. So another last thing I can show you guys before I wrap up is our integrations. So this is where you can add your integration. So as we saw today, my integration for AWS and Azure is live. Hence, I can see those assets. Then, my cloud GCP is still not integrated. So it's showing me red, and it's showing me the steps which I can follow to integrate my GCP environment. Similarly, we have collaboration tools like Slack, Jira, Asana, ServiceNow, which you can integrate on the platform. And you can collaborate much more easily. You can raise your Jira tickets, etc., and it can all be integrated with Controllo. So yeah, I think with this I've covered all the features of the platform. Yeah, Mr. Ashwin, have I missed out on anything?
You were great. Yeah, everything is covered. So that's it. I think.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think with that we've covered all the features of the platform. And now we'll, open the floor for questions. So if you guys have any questions, please start, posting them in the Q&A box. We'll start addressing those. And the polls are also live now. So I'd humbly request everybody to please participate in our polls. Your feedback is really valuable to us, and we'd really appreciate it. Thank you. So I think we already have some questions, and we can start looking at those.
So first question was on the full screen mode. So we have an issue with the Zoho platform. Whenever we put it in on full screen mode, the screen is not visible and gets stuck. So that's the reason we don't put it on screen, full screen, because that's the issue with the Zoho platform, and we can't help about it. So secondly, is the second question is saying how do we operationalize the concept of consent manager? Yes, great question. So METI has come out with some guidelines on the consent manager. They're going to panel some platforms on the consent manager thing, and we need to wait for what they actually come out and how they actually do it. But at this time, before you actually do this, I think we should go back to our drawing board and see our DFDs as to what data we collecting, and are those required to collect or not, and how long they collect. So we need to look at the processes first before we look at the concept of a consent manager. So we need to really look at our processes. We need to take a stock of our databases, our data stores, our business processes. That is a big internal exercise. In my opinion, that should be done first. The next question is, what is the price? I do not know are you asking what is the price of the platform? The price of the platform will depend on what kind of modules you need, what are the users you have, what are the services that you need from the platform. And you can send us an email, connect with us. We will give you a proposal based on your specific needs. Then on the same subscription also, we can work on it. How many users you need, we can work on that. Not a big issue. The next question is, does the organization need an ISO IEC 27001 to get certified for 27701 Yes, I think I answered that question. Now the requirement with the new standard is gone. So you do not need a 27001 certification to get certified for 27701. Earlier in the 2019 version, both were connected and you had to do an integrated audit, or at least you should have been an ISMS certified to do that. But I think that requirement is gone, and you can independently now have a 27701 certificate. The next question is, what are the key steps to follow for creating an effective data flow mapping? Excellent question, great question. So the effective data flow mapping, as I was stating in my presentation, is you need to understand what are your business processes, what kind of data you are collecting, what are the ways that you are collecting, what are the fields you are collecting, and then you do a PIA or DPIA to understand the controls at each and every step of the data collection or the processing happening. And you do a risk assessment at each and every point, whether the controls are there, such as transmission of SSL protocol or encryption of data at rest, or what you're talking about, anonymization or de-anonymization of data is required or not required. So all those steps are required and important to create a good privacy management system, which is called a PIMS in terms of the ISO standards. So next question is, to whom does the DPDP apply? Any segments, exemptions, etc.? I think the DPDP applies to everybody, and you need to specifically now the data fiduciaries and the companies who are having data, which the Act definitely defines, is there. Maybe smaller organizations may get some exemptions, but larger organizations such as banks and government institutions or other large companies who are having data will definitely need to be compliant with this DPDP. So those are the specific questions we have, and I've answered them. Alva, have you? We have run the we have polls also, right? So if I
Yeah,
would,
the polls are live and we've already got some responses. If anybody has still not participated in our polls, please do so. It'll really help us. So yeah.
so we'll quickly wait for another 1 or 2 minutes for any more questions that may have while we also look at the polls. So I think we have done the polls. Alva, I think we don't have any more questions. I think we can close the webinar.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned on our LinkedIn page. We keep doing webinars. So, do participate in all our webinars. And if you have any specific one-on-one questions for Controllo, you can always connect with us. We can always give you personalized demos. And yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you so much. And yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.